My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 68 years old, a widower, and a retired commercial contractor. Most people who know me think I'm just an old man living quietly in a modest lakeside home. That's exactly how I wanted it. My son, Ethan, believed I'd sold off my business years ago and lived off a comfortable retirement. I never corrected him. There are some truths that are safer kept hidden. Long before Ethan was born, I bought an old concrete storage building near the industrial harbor. From the outside, it looked abandoned. Rust covered the doors, weeds surrounded the fence, and nobody gave it a second glance. But inside was the real story of my life's work. Not stacks of cash. Not gold bars. Not priceless paintings. It held something far more valuable. Every blueprint, patent, contract, prototype, and legal record from the engineering company I'd quietly built over 40 years. Those files represented billions of dollars in intellectual property and ownership rights. Only two people knew the truth. Me and my attorney. When my wife died, I decided never to burden Ethan with that responsibility until he proved he was ready. Unfortunately, he married Vanessa. The first time she visited my home, she wasn't interested in family photos. She wasn't interested in memories. She kept asking strange questions. So, Daniel, where did all your business equipment go? Did you ever own warehouses? Is there any property Ethan doesn't know about? I smiled politely. No. It was a lie. Over the next year, Vanessa became obsessed. She searched public records. She hired investigators. She questioned old employees. She even befriended my former accountant. She wasn't looking for family history. She was hunting for hidden wealth. Ethan never noticed. He thought she simply admired successful people. I knew better. One afternoon she casually asked, "If something happened to you tomorrow, would Ethan automatically inherit everything?" I looked directly into her eyes. "Only what I choose." For just a second. Her smile disappeared. That's when I knew exactly who she was. A month later, Ethan called. "Dad. Vanessa thinks you should move into assisted living." "I'm perfectly healthy." "I know, but she's worried." "No." He sighed. "Please don't make this difficult." The conversation ended there. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. It was Frank, my longtime warehouse foreman. His voice shook. "Boss. What happened? Your daughter-in-law is here." My heart didn't race. I'd expected this day for months. Frank continued. "She brought a locksmith, 2 movers, and a rental truck." I quietly stood up. "Did they break in yet?" "Not yet." "Good. I've stalled them." I smiled. "You did exactly right." Frank hesitated. "Should I call the police?" "Not yet. I'll handle it." I grabbed one small leather folder from my desk. Inside were documents I'd prepared years ago. If anyone ever tried stealing what was inside that building, everything was already waiting. During the 40-minute drive to the harbor, I wasn't angry. I was disappointed. Not because Vanessa wanted money. Because she'd convinced my own son that I was hiding something from him. Technically, she was right. But not for the reason she believed. When I arrived, I parked across the street. Vanessa stood beside a locksmith giving instructions. She wore expensive sunglasses and acted like she already owned the place. The movers laughed while pointing at the rusty building. One of them asked, "What's supposed to be inside?" She smiled confidently. "Enough to make us rich." I walked toward them slowly. "Afternoon." She froze. Then quickly recovered. "Oh. Daniel. What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same question." She crossed her arms. Ethan inherited this property. No. He will. Eventually. She held up paperwork. We have authority. I glanced at the papers. Fake. Very convincing. But fake. I smiled. You paid someone good money for those. Her confidence cracked for the first time. The locksmith looked confused. I thought this was legal. I looked directly at him. It isn't. He stepped backward immediately. Vanessa snapped. Don't listen to him. I calmly opened my leather folder. Inside was the original property deed. Ownership certificates. Security agreements. And one final document. A court order I'd quietly obtained months earlier after learning someone had attempted to forge ownership records. I handed copies to the locksmith. His face turned pale. I'm leaving. The movers quickly followed. Now it was just me. And Vanessa. She glared. You think you've won? I looked toward the storage building. No. I've simply confirmed everything I suspected. She laughed. You really think Ethan will choose you over me? I answered softly. He won't have to. Because in less than 1 hour, he would finally learn who he'd actually married. Less than an hour later, Ethan's black SUV pulled into the parking lot so fast the tires squealed against the pavement. He jumped out, looking from me to Vanessa with complete confusion. Dad, what's going on? Before I could answer, Vanessa rushed to him. Your father's lying. He's hiding millions from us. He refuses to let us into what's rightfully yours. Ethan looked at me. Dad, please tell me that's not true. I took a deep breath. I am hiding something. His face fell. But it doesn't belong to either of you. Vanessa interrupted. See? I told you. I raised my hand. I wasn't finished. I unlocked the heavy steel door. The massive lock clicked open. The rusty doors slowly swung inward. Vanessa pushed past everyone, expecting stacks of cash, antique cars, or vaults filled with gold. Instead, rows of climate-controlled cabinets lined both walls. Steel safes. Shelves packed with carefully labeled boxes. Large drafting tables covered in engineering models. Industrial prototypes wrapped in protective covers. No treasure. No diamonds. No piles of money. Vanessa stared in disbelief. What is all this? I walked to the center of the room. This is 40 years of work. Ethan slowly looked around. I don't understand. You remember the bridges, shipping terminals, and offshore platforms my company helped design? He nodded. Those projects never stopped making money. I opened one cabinet. Inside were binders filled with patents. Another held licensing agreements with international construction firms. Then I opened the largest safe. Inside sat dozens of sealed legal documents. This room controls ownership rights for every company I ever created. Vanessa whispered. So, it really is worth billions. I nodded. Yes. Her eyes lit up. She stepped closer. So Ethan owns. No. The room became silent. I own every single share. Ethan looked shocked. You told me you retired. I retired from managing the business. I never sold it. He struggled to process what he'd just heard. You mean? I've remained the majority owner this entire time. Vanessa's expression changed from excitement to desperation. She grabbed Ethan's arm. See? He's been lying to you for years. I calmly answered. I wasn't lying. I was waiting. For what? Ethan asked quietly. For the day I could trust the people around you. His shoulders dropped. Dad. I handed him another folder. Inside were photographs, private investigator reports, bank records, copies of emails. Every page documented Vanessa secretly hiring investigators to locate hidden properties. Wire transfers paid to a man who forged property documents. Messages discussing divorce settlements before she'd even been married a year. Ethan flipped through each page slowly. His face became whiter with every document. Vanessa reached for the folder. "Those are fake." I pulled it away. "No. They've already been verified in court." She looked at Ethan. "He's manipulating you." I quietly removed my phone. "Actually, I thought you might say that." I pressed play. A recording filled the warehouse. Vanessa's voice echoed clearly. "I don't love him. I'm just waiting until the old man dies. The storage building has to be worth at least $50 million. If I find it first, Ethan won't even know." Silence. Absolute silence. Ethan didn't move. He couldn't. The recording continued. "If Daniel changes his will before he dies, I'll make sure he regrets it." I stopped the recording. No one spoke. Finally, Ethan looked directly at his wife. "Is that really you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she cried. Real tears. Or at least convincing ones. "I'm sorry. I was scared. I thought your father hated me." Ethan stared at her. "So you married me for money?" "No. You just heard yourself admit it." She looked toward me. "You set me up." I nodded once. "Yes. I gave you every opportunity to prove me wrong. You never did." At that moment, 2 police vehicles entered the property. Vanessa's confidence disappeared instantly. An officer approached. "Mr. Harper?" "Yes. We've completed our investigation regarding forged ownership documents." He looked toward Vanessa. "We'll need to ask her several questions." She stepped backward. "You can't arrest me." The officer remained calm. Attempting to obtain property using fraudulent legal documents is a criminal offense. She looked desperately at Ethan. "Tell them." He slowly stepped away from her. For the first time since arriving, he stood beside me instead. "I can't help you." Officers escorted Vanessa toward a patrol car. Before getting inside, she screamed. "You ruined everything." I quietly answered. "No. You did." As the patrol car disappeared down the road, Ethan sat on an old wooden crate inside the warehouse. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Finally he asked, "Dad, why didn't you tell me any of this years ago?" I looked around the room. "Because wealth doesn't reveal character. It attracts people who already lack it. I wanted to know whether you'd build your own life, or spend it chasing mine." Tears filled his eyes. "I'm sorry." "So am I." He lowered his head. "I should have trusted you." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's never too late to start." 6 months later, Ethan finalized his divorce. He went back to work not in one of my companies, but at the engineering firm where he'd built his own reputation. I was proud of that. A year later, I finally invited him back to the storage building. This time, I handed him a single key. Not because he was my son, but because he had finally become the kind of man who understood that the greatest inheritance isn't hidden behind a steel door. It's the character required to earn the trust that opens it.